Hi everyone, my name is Ifeoluwa and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I'm going to be talking about getting started as a dev. This is my second video on that, and today is going to be focused on tools and setup. The first video was focused on a quick guide. So you can just check my description link below or check my channel and you'll find the link to the video. You find the video for that and as well some of my previous videos. So today's focus is basically on tools and setup. Yes, again, there's a little update as to the time when my videos would come out. So Sundays remain Sundays, but from today, or after today rather, after this video, every video I publish on Sunday will be centered or focused on web development. And then instead of Tuesdays, now it will be Wednesday, and those videos will be focused on mobile development. Please ensure you follow. If you decide to follow both, or you want probably just stay on web or mobile development, you can pick anyone. All right, remember the essence of this channel is to ensure that you're learning tech and scaling at 4 times pace faster. All right, so today's goal, as I've said earlier, is to set you up for web or mobile development. So let's get going. Right, the web tools that you need, basically, essentially the ones that will be enough to get you started and to land you your first tech role, is what I'm just going to be looking at now. So the first thing is you need VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Like I mentioned in my previous video, which link is in the description below, you can use, you need a code editor or like an IDE generally, but you don't need the heavy ones like NetBeans or PyCharm or Eclipse or the likes. With Visual Studio Code, at least for what we're doing, would be sufficient enough to serve every purpose within the context of this project, right? So you can just copy this link from my video. I'm going to be sharing it as well, and then just come into Visual Studio Code, the website, and then download from here. So automatically it's able to recognize the computer I'm using, which is a MacBook. If you're using a Windows, it will tell you to download for a Windows, which will be an exe file, an executable file. One thing I must point out here right now is that in programming or in development generally in the tech space, something is very important to us. We take documentation very important. So for every code you're going to be writing, it is good to document. For every project or app you are going to be putting up, it is good to put proper documentation. So these apps, they all have proper documentation as to how to install them or how to use them. So for this, right, all you just need to do, there isn't so much stuff or necessary setup on your computer. Just download the file. If you're using Windows, you also find the Windows file. Download the files. Like for me here, I can just select Windows if I'm actually downloading for a third party. So I can just select Windows. Same applies to you. But know that it will only work for your computer if it is a Windows, and DMG will only work for your computer if it is a MacBook. So that's that for VS Code. Next thing to download is ZAPP. ZAPP is like your local host server. There are quite a number of them. There's ZAPP, there's LAMP, there's WAMP, right? They are all similar, right? They contain Apache, MariaDB, PHP. I think ZAPP has PL as well. So for this, you can just copy the link as well. Copy this download link. I'm going to be posting them down, right? And you find ZAPP there. So with ZAPP, you are going to have PHP installed on your device. You don't have to install PHP separately. You have PHP installed on your computer automatically once you install ZAPP, and then PL and then MySQL. So once you've downloaded it, you can, you see Windows, for Linux, and for OS X. OS X is the same thing as Mac OS. So you can download the one that is befitting for your computer. Once you're able to download that, then you should have your app installed. Once it's installed, then you should have something like this. I'm just going to launch my own ZAPP here. Here you can see. So with ZAPP, you would have your SQL database and Apache web server running. So the essence of the ZAPP server is to allow us subsequently in some other videos, I'm going to be introducing us to setting up databases and the like, connecting database to your website or to your app, whichever it is. You're going to be needing your local server to do that, which is why when this is running, you can then visit a URL. Like once you have downloaded that and you set it up, there's not too much. Just start the server. You can go to URLs like localhost. Once you visit your localhost, then you find this welcome to ZAPP and then PHP my admin. You can see all database. Well, you can't have this in your own. These are my own personal database, and then you can just create new databases. Well, we'll get into the details of this later on as we go. And then next thing to do is to download and install Node.js. Node.js is like another essential tool which we're going to be getting exposed to when we start working with many JavaScript frameworks like React. So it is good that and important, especially if we're going to be running Node package managers later with React and Vue and the likes. So this is essential tool for you with web development, especially front-end web development. You have this. You need to have this installed. If you need to read anything about it, you can just check the API documentation out and then understand how these things work. All right, so that's that on that. And I think for web, that should be sufficient enough. These links, I will also share them in my description. For mobile, I won't be focusing on either Xcode or Android Studio. I'm going to be taking FLUTTER, which is a cross-platform development framework, right? So with that, we are going to be able to develop app that will run on both iOS and Android devices, and that would really help us scale faster. And FLUTTER is by Google, and it has a large community of support as well as React Native, and of course has so much relevance for the future, for now and the future. So there's no fear as to what FLUTTER would be in the next 5 or 10 years. Of course, inventions will come, but trust me, this is going to stand test of time. All right, so with FLUTTER, some of the things you need to download is you need Android Studio actually, and Android Studio might be computer specific, like you need some specific configurations to be able to run this, but no issues. Even with that, you can run. When you open the Android Studio link for download, you will find details as to what you need for this to run. Or you can just change your version. Do you understand? You can change the version based on your computer configuration. You can find that within their website and then download maybe a lower version that can run on your computer. But not to worry too much. For FLUTTER, like in some of my previous videos, right, you would be able to install FLUTTER on your computer, right? But even if you can't install here this way, even if you can't install following this process, because of course on Mac or Windows you probably need to install Android Studio as well. If you can't install this way, we have ZAPP.run. Right, ZAPP is an online platform where you can actually build FLUTTER apps, so you don't have to have those configuration. You get with your Chrome browser, you are able to get this done. Do you understand? But of course, we'll get into that later when we start our mobile development. So we might just be looking at alternatives for you if you don't have a computer that runs FLUTTER yet. You can still use ZAPP for that. All right. So next is install VSCODE extension. Well, if you have downloaded and installed FLUTTER according to this, choose your computer type, macOS or Windows, whichever one. Install FLUTTER. Once you download the file, put the file where it's supposed to be, and then once that is set up, use your path file to set it up. Like I said, documentation is very important. You update your path and you'll be able to do all this. Of course, when we start the full mobile development videos, or when I start the full mobile development videos, I'm going to be exposing us to this one after the other, right? So once you're able to get this done, then in VS Code, you are able to then install some of your extensions. So if you check here, you will find some of the extensions here. So if you then search for, take for instance, I search for FLUTTER, I can find FLUTTER extensions. There are some other ones we would install, like Prettify for making your code look nice, like IntelliSense and all those things. So as we go, would learn much about that. Next is UI tools. For every design or for every project you are building, of course, there's always a design first, which probably like a UI design. Adobe XD is one to run to. You can just copy my URL here and download it. Of course, I would always advise that you go for Figma first. Figma has a easy way out. You can just run it online as well. If you don't have a very robust computer, you can just create an account on figma.com and you start building or you start designing your UIs there. Or you can even just, if it's just for viewing sake, so that you can replicate the design in your code, you can just do that. And as we go, I will also be exposing us and making some UI available online so that we can all look at it and then be working with that UI together, whether on web or mobile development. So you can have that. And then yes, this last one is just a plus. You'll see that many times when people finish a project or when they are trying to market a project, you find these beautiful designs like this up, and like you'll be like, oh, wow, this is a nice project, like all these things. So I use preview.app for many of those projects or many of those designs. It just needs me to screenshot my app and then just upload them here. I don't have to do the design myself. It automatically comes up with the mockups for me, and those mockups, like especially when you're submitting to Play Store or Google, a Play Store or Apple Store, you will need some of these things, and the best you can just do is just use preview.app and then export them all at once, right? And then next, repositories and collaboration. Repository is like your online folders or your online store for many of your code, and how that is possible is via Git. Git is not an acronym though, but Git is like a version control system that helps you manage your code history. Do you understand? And also allows for collaboration between developers in a team or across the globe, wherever you are, right? So when you create your project, right, you have to, in the world today, you have to ensure that your project is on a repository where you can access it anytime later in the future, or even connect it to your production or to your servers, wherever it is, through continuous integration and continuous deployment. We can get into that somewhat later. But for a repository, for you to have, or for you to be able to create a repository for your project, you need to have an account with either Git or GitLab or BitBucket. Those are essentially the popular three. So with any of these accounts, you can create Git repositories for a project and then collaborate with people, where if I make a changes on my local system, I can push, and then somebody who is in Canada or America can also pull my changes, and as well I can push the person's changes, and we are working on the same code base at the same time. All right, of course there are technicalities to it. Set up GitHub with VSCODE. So after you have created your account, let me just show you what GitHub looks like. GitHub.com. So after you have created your repository, of course your account will look like this. You can just, on my profile, on my profile you can see some of my own repositories. I have about 171 repositories. Of course many of them are not mine. Some are just like Fox repository, which I like pulled from other people or projects we worked on together. And then of course it records your timestamp. So as you are saving your project or committing to your project code base, it's also saving what you are doing, and then people can monitor and then measure how active you are on this. Of course you can see that I'm not so active, of course, and that might be because some people actually have private repository which you cannot see the timestamp here, maybe in GitLab or stuff like that. So that happens too as well. Also, one plus of this GitHub platform is that you are able to access open source easily. So take for instance, like, okay, whilst recording this video, I've done this search several times. So you can just try, say, okay, you have a new project in mind, or even maybe you conceive an idea and you just feel like, okay, I want to build an e-commerce website. Just check e-commerce React, and you are looking to build it with React Native or React JS. So the plus of this is that it helps you find open source projects within whatever like search you have. So see, like several projects that has been built with React specifically. I can change my, you can see you can change languages generally here, but you will find projects here that based on your search keyword that you want to probably look at and say, okay, let me even check React e-commerce templates. Let's see what this looks like. Like I told you, it is very important in programming documentation. Look at this person. He has actually provided documentation as to how to set up this particular project if you want to probably clone this project like that. So those are kind of the pluses for this also. So next is for you to set that up on VS Code. You can see my own VS Code is already connected to my BitBucket, right? So you, like with Command Shift P, you can see I can initialize the Git repository. So it's very easy. Once you install VS Code, click on this thing that looks like this is the icon for Git anyway, source control. When you click on this wire looking stuff, once you click on this, then it will ask you to connect your repository. But in my own case, I already have my repository connected, so that's for that if it's VS Code. And then yes, I would kind of give you one more thing is Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow is like a platform where developers, like a community where developers can ask questions or find solutions to whatever problem is bothering them. So take for instance, maybe you are unable to install your VS Code, just go to Stack Overflow and say unable to install VS Code. You will be shocked at what will happen. See 759 results. It's like Google, right? So you will find several people that have had issues with that and what they were. You find people's answer. Nobody answered to this though. Then you find top voted, and you find the one which has answers that probably can, maybe most times some of them actually fixes your problem as well. So instead of just staying stuck, you can just try Stack Overflow. That's just the plus though. So that will be all for today. I hope you have learned one or two things. Please do well to like this video, share and subscribe to my channel. Share to people that you think that probably wants to get a tech career and maybe one way or the other are not able to get themselves to a learning school, or probably subscribe to all these expensive tutorials. My channel is entirely free, but please ensure you share with people, like and subscribe. If you have any problems or challenges, whatever it's as relating to these videos or probably a tech issue, please just comment and then I'm going to respond as fast as I can. I hope you enjoy these videos, and you can check my previous post as well. Thank you. Stay happy.